Hi guys, I think a lot of you wanted to know what is known as the double pencil method, which is a basic technique to understand broad edge calligraphy. So today, for the purpose of explanation, I'm going to consider italics calligraphy and explain what the double pencil method is. So just to cover a little bit of basic information. So if you see, a broad edge calligraphy is written using a broad edge pen, which resembles this nib, where you have a flat edge of the nib, and when you manipulate the pen, you get different types of strokes. It's either a thin hairline stroke or a thick wedge shaped stroke or a barrel stroke. So to understand how a broad edge stroke truly works, we can use this technique known as the double pencil method. It's a very easy and simple method to try with tools that you have lying around at home. So you just have to take two pencils, sharpen them, and then tightly bind them together and use a scotch tape to secure them in place. So I've used at two different places so they don't move. So this is how you create a double pencil. So a double pencil resembles a broad edge nib, except that it doesn't have a flat edge. You don't have the nib to be flat, so you can actually see the shape that is being created when you write broad edge calligraphy. So here I'm taking this to be the baseline. I have ruled out the pencil lines based on the rules for italics. So you have a 5-degree slant line at which the letters are angled at, and you have a 45-degree angle reference to hold the double pencil or the nib edge. So this is what you do. So you place the pencil at 45-degree angle to the baseline, and then we can start trying out the different strokes that this can create. So if I run the double pencil along the 45-degree line, you get what's known as the hairline stroke. You just get a pad. So you're running the pencils along the same line, so you just get a hairline stroke. So what if we move the pencil across the paper, which is in a vertical motion? Same again, I'm holding it at 45-degree angle and I'm running the double pencil vertically. So that's when you create what's known as the barrel shape or the broad stroke, also known as the shade. So we can try. So if I run it across at 45-degree angle and then bring it down vertically and then again take it up, that's how a letter is created in italics using a double pencil. So before we start looking at the letters, I'm just going to use the double pencil to create the nib widths. So if you run and use the double pencil in this format, you get, this is known as a nib width, where you create a small square using the two strokes, horizontal and vertical movement of the double pencil. So if you create 5 nib widths, one after the other, adjacent to each other in a moving up motion, you get the x height distance that you need to follow for the nib type. So again, I'm going to use a 45-degree angle and considering the 5-degree slant line. And then you can fill in the spaces and close the edges with the single pencil. So if I now shade the space that has been created with the double pencil, that defines the italic lowercase letter I. Something similar to the double pencil is something that you get in the shop, is a scroll cut pen. So if you look at it, it's similar to the traditional broad edge pen, except that the nib has been modified to a scroll cut to resemble a double pencil. So you can use the same technique that we just saw, where I'm just going to line the nib widths one on top of another and create the 5 nib width x height space. can line it across the 45-degree angle and imagine a 5-degree slant to create the letter I. So just to compare how this will look in a traditional nib. So this is how the traditional broad edge calligraphy is written, and this double pencil or scroll cut pen will help us understand how the shape of the letters should look like. So as an extension to this, let's look at another letter. This is a very simple lowercase letter I. So but if you consider a letter that like N, for example, where you have more than just one stroke, you can even understand the branching pattern. So again, I'm starting with the double pencil method, and I'm creating the first stroke of letter N. Then you can use the single pencil to just line the edges. Now for the traditional calligraphy style, the branching always happens at the midpoint of the X. So approximately at midpoint of this first stroke, I have to branch out into the next stroke. When you do this branching, you can understand the stroke that is generated. Looks like this. So this understanding of the letter is much easier and clearer when you use a double pencil method. Now let's try it with the scroll cut. That was the first stroke of N, and now I'm branching out from the midpoint and creating the next stroke. It gives a good sense of how the letter form shape should look like. Because when you use a traditional tool, it's difficult to identify the shape because it's overlapping and you won't be able to really see the exact stroke shape. So the double pencil method is very useful to understand how the italic calligraphy or any broad edge calligraphy for that matter is created and how the strokes differ.